but we're still moving on.
Okay, Kate Campbell, welcome.
Well,
Here we
morning.
are. So I'm Hunter Kelly, a longtime fan, now working with you to help you get your message out to the world on the social media.
Because I'm so lame at it.
Well, it's,
It overwhelms me.
well, you were out there just finding weird stuff in the South and writing about it, and that's what you do.
That's right.
So what we wanted to do, we asked for some questions on the internet, and so we got a great response. So our first batch of questions, we're going to have 6 questions from the internet with Kate
Alrighty.
Campbell. Are you ready?
I think so.
Let's just start off with one of the most controversial questions in Kate Campbell mythology, which I'm going to call it.
Okay.
Don Good wants to know the age-old question about Crazy in Alabama, your song that came out in 98.
Mm-hmm.
Did Daddy post the bail for Odessa when she was jailed for turning tricks at the Blue and Gray Motel?
My daddy? Somebody's daddy?
The mythical daddy in the song.
The mythical daddy. Yes, I think that's implied.
Okay.
You know, that is just for everybody's. I co-wrote that with a girl from Alabama named Kenya Walker,
Who is a character.
who's a character of
She
her
makes
own.
a good dinner, too.
Kenya is her own force of nature. And we met early on. That's when I wrote for Fame, and she had a writing deal, and she came and she heard me at the Bluebird. She goes, I want to write. Let's write. And so we started writing, and we wrote Crazy in Alabama, and it was just kind of one of those crazy days. And Kenya talks like, and she was just throwing out lines, and I was going, okay. And then we, began to form the tune and all that. And so we made up, but we used real people in different places in that song. So, my dad, I wouldn't say he was outright involved, but he was a preacher who believed in that everyone should be welcome. Public schools. He kept me in public schools, and my dad would be asked to preach at African American churches, and that was a really early part of my life that was just amazing, So, and my dad really is a preacher, so that's kind of how that came into the song. And a lot of people want to know about Odessa. I think that's another.
Yeah, Rachel Margaret Giotto, and excuse me if I butcher your name, I apologize.
Right.
But she wants to know if Odessa is a real person because she can't find Odessa in her research. So people are out there like going through public records, I guess.
Well, I know, it's amazing. So, just keep in mind, y'all, that I put together a lot of different stories into one song, particularly in Crazy in Alabama. So we got the name Odessa because I lived in the dorm when I was in college, and the custodial staff, the person that came in the women's dorm, which was a women's dorm back when I was at Sanford University in Birmingham, was about a 6'3" African American lady, and her name was Odessa. So when I remembered Odessa, because I was a music major when I started, and I lived on the hall dorm, and it's like if you ever been a music major, it's like you have to take Theory 1. And Theory 1, it's like the first class.
It's not sexy.
It's awful. It's like 8 a.m., Remember, this is back in the 80s. So it would be me, and I would be getting ready, just kind of throwing stuff together. I'd be in the hall bathroom at like 7:30 in the morning, and I would hear this person walking down the hallway, and it sounded like they were carrying something or whatever, and kind of, I reckon, at first I didn't know until this turned into a daily thing, and in walked Odessa that first day. And like I said, she's got the mop, and she's coming into our hall bathroom, and she goes, "Morning." I said, "Morning." And that was it.
There's not much to say at that hour.
That was it. And it was like every day. And I always remembered her name, and like that she was so tall and thin, and I could hear the mop coming down the hallway. And so I just thought that it sang good. And so we used Odessa in the song. But I'm sure there probably is an Odessa out there some way. And the other thing we used in the song was the Blue and Gray Motel, which I went to school in Birmingham, like I said, and before the interstate was was completed through Birmingham and North Birmingham particularly, you would go on the old highway, and for years there was this motel by the side of the road called the Blue and Gray Motel, all through the 80s and 90s. Okay. And so when we were writing the song, I said, we got to say the Blue and Gray Motel.
I think I remember the Blue and Gray Motel.
You
was
should. It was.
Yeah, I'm from Birmingham.
Yeah.
So, was it on Highway 31?
It was.
Okay.
Coming down. Like before I get
Near Caraway Hospital.
north of that, closer to Gardendale, and
which is where I'm from, Gardendale,
right.
Alabama. Shout out to everybody down there.
And Ira, my husband, is from Gardendale,
which is how we know each other.
That's how we know each other. So so it was just all those years passing the Blue and Gray Motel, and there, me and Kenya. I'm serious, y'all. We were just throwing out stuff for that song, just throwing out stuff.
Okay. So now we know if you're going to stalk Odessa, she lived in Birmingham.
Yeah.
In the 80s. There you go. Okay, Janet Cecil Jones wants to know, how did you learn of and then come to write about Fordlandia, which is on the Save the Day record?
Exactly. Well, there was two. It kind of came together. I was trying to remember this because you showed me the questions ahead of time.
I did. Well, they were just on the internet.
Well, this is how it all started. One of my dear friends who I met because I wrote for Fame, and still some of the people that I mostly write with are Walt Aldridge and Mark Narmore, and they're both from Muscle Shoals, Florence. And so I had gone down. I was starting to write for a new record, and I'd gone down to Muscle Shoals and to write with Mark Narmore. And so we were, I don't know, you just talk, you just hang out and talk and have coffee and what have you been thinking about? And you have any song ideas and all this kind of stuff. And I don't know if I'd heard it on NPR or something. I just started talking about this either new book that had come out, anyway, about Fordlandia, okay? And Mark, but then we started talking about Elvis because I talk about Elvis all the time.
All the time. And
so what happened is Mark, like I said, he's from that area, and he goes, well, Henry Ford was going to come down to the Shoals area, and he was going to build a town, and they were going to call it Ford City, Alabama. And so they kind of cleared what was going to be the roads and the town in the middle of the cotton fields down there in Florence and Muscle Shoals. And but they never, ever built the plant because from then he went down to South America, which ended up being Fordlandia, and have the song. But the funny thing is, me and Mark, that day, we wrote another Elvis song. We talked about it. And then we wrote the Elvis song. So then, I don't know if it's the same week or whatever, I was writing with Walt Aldridge. I said, Walt, because he's from there, I go, did you ever know about, Ford City, Alabama and whatever? And he goes, yeah. And we talked about it. And I go, did you know that, there's a book? I think maybe the book had just come out, Henry Ford did go down to South America and Fordlandia. And he goes, yeah. I go, don't you think that'd make a good song? He goes, yes. So Walt and I ended up writing Fordlandia. And Mark and I wrote, of course, another Elvis tune because I'm always thinking about Elvis.
Always.
But that's how it came about. And both of those guys knew about that. In Muscle Shoals, there was originally going to be a Ford plant.
Yeah.
And it was at the early part of the 20th century. And they were going to name a part of that whole Shoals area. It was going to be Ford City, Alabama.
Okay. We don't talk about this much, but the Ford Motor Company shows up in your music quite a bit, too. There's Galaxy 500.
That's right. Because we had, my family drove Fords.
Okay.
Well, we had VWs. My dad we had several little bugs. And then we had Fords.
Yeah.
And, of course, Galaxy 500, we really did have a Galaxy 500.
Yeah.
And that was white with the red interior. And this is in the 60s, you have to remember. And my dad was doing some kind of little thing at the church, like people, renewing their, some kind of like sweetheart thing or renewing
Valentine's Day kind
something
of thing.
And renew your marriage, I don't know, whatever. So the teenagers thought it would be really funny to go out into the church parking lot and write on the cars, like married again or I'm just, stuff like that, or love or, Anyway, they took black shoe polish and they wrote on my daddy's, white Galaxy, and he couldn't get the paint out. This is in the 60s. So, of course, somebody in the church probably worked for the Ford plant. By then we were in Nashville and probably worked for the Ford plant or something. He goes, oh, sure, I'll get it, I'll get it painted for you, preacher. And so it ended up being baby blue. Not not the kind of blue Ford with the
Yeah.
blue, that was kind of blue seats. This was baby blue.
Okay.
And so that's how it got to be baby blue with still the red interior. It was real nice.
See, I know every word of that song, but I did not know the story behind. I just thought we got it white. I guess I thought that people got cars white and they just had them custom painted whatever they want back in the day, and that's something we don't do anymore. But that was the story.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
I know. It's always something weird
It's
like
always
that I
something.
think about, And like I said, sometimes I change details. You have to write stuff that sings. You got to,
Oh, yeah.
But also I kind of merge stories sometimes
Okay.
all in one song.
And we're going to have a little playlist going so that if you aren't familiar with these songs, you can go get them immediately. So be looking for that. Ken Lippert wants to know, when are you and Kevin Gordon going to do an entire album together, writing, playing, and singing? I think it would be incredible.
Well, I do too, and that's a real good idea, Ken. Ken's a longtime fan. This is going out to Ken. That is a really good idea. I don't know, of course, Kevin is brilliant. And if y'all don't know Kevin's music, he's a poet. And we have the very same interest in art. And again, Kevin is somebody I met many, many, many years ago now, 20 plus years ago when we were first writing. And I forgot how we met. But so I think that's a good idea. I might have to talk him into it. I don't know. He'd probably do it with me, but, he even works slower than I do. Because he's kind of like me. We think a lot, both of us. Think for a long time. People want to know about process. And I'm always thinking. Sometimes when I sit down to write, I write pretty quickly, but I'm always thinking
It's always
about stuff,
yeah.
percolating.
It's on the back burner.
It's on the back burner, and again, Kevin is a trained poet. He's brilliant, and we also have a little bit something in common because I was born in New Orleans, and Kevin's from Monroe, Louisiana. Okay. So we have a similar kind of musical, I think. Not everybody hears it in my stuff. They hear it probably more in Kevin's, but...
You've had some Dixieland going on in there.
Yeah, we have some similar grooves, I think, every now and then. He's played on, of course, many of y'all know, on several of my records. So,
Okay, another longtime fan, Alex Bledsoe.
Yep, Alex.
Wants to know, your
a
songs
writer.
are so steeped in literature and literary tradition. Have you ever tried writing prose or fiction?
No, I don't think I could. I
don't?
know. I saw that question. Well, maybe I could. I wrote, but I'm a historian by trade. For those who don't know, I'm a historian by trade. And so I could write a good history paper for y'all probably.
Yeah.
And it comes out, but I think the... I don't know. I don't know if I'm up to it. I know people want me to do it. Even some people want me to maybe this will be our little podcast might be the precursor to me finally putting together a book. People want me to have a book of the stories and stuff, but I don't know. Every time I sit down to do it, the songs say it, and it's not interesting to me. It's not interesting to me
To put it in the form.
Right. So if I ever come up with a way to kind of write it, and try to tell people this too, if you're a writer of any kind. Even the songs, when I'm writing them out, they have to look a certain way to me. It's kind of how written down. And I don't do typing up and all that kind of stuff. I still have my notebooks, and I barely scratch through what was a word just so in case I want to come back to it. So I don't type.
That's
don't use
good
my
advice.
computer. I don't use anything like that. So I'm kind of a writer in that sense, but I don't know. I don't know if I could really be like a poet. Like Kevin knows the proper ways to do that, and I could maybe write short stories, but I don't know if I'm up to it.
Yeah. So Brent Mayer, who worked with the Judds, he was telling me about writing with the dean, the dean of country songwriting, Harlan Howard.
Oh.
And he said that same thing about Harlan would say, we don't throw away words. You just, you want to have everything so your notes, so you can come back to it.
Right. And things have to look a certain way to me. I will tell people that. I mean, even in the songs, I know when something's right, but I am a very visual person. I love art. I love art in all its forms. I love, of course, short stories. And I wish I could write them, but yeah, it's very important how the words look, and not only how they sound, but how they're looking to me as I'm writing.
Fascinating. Okay, we're on the home stretch
Oh,
here.
wow.
This is so fun. I'm glad we're doing this. So we actually, I had, gosh, probably like 2005 for the Blues and Lamentations album. I think when I interviewed you, we did it in a studio with the idea of doing a podcast when podcasts were a thing in 2005.
Right.
And now they've come back around. But I am excited for this format for you.
It works for me. I'm a good talker.
You've got a lot
Yeah.
to say. Yeah. And this is, well, I think it also adds in like this. These are the kind of stories you get in between songs when you come to a Kate Campbell show.
Absolutely, you do.
Charm.
What's that?
Southern charm.
Southern charm.
Speaking of charming, D. Botillier
Yeah.
Selinsky. Is that how you say her name?
I don't think you say Boutillier. I think you say D. Boutillier. I'm
Boutillier?
not sure how I've heard her say
Well,
it.
Dee has an interesting question. She wants to know if you are tattooed yet. Do you have a tattoo?
Well, I don't know that if I want to say live on the podcast or not.
Okay.
But D, next time I see you,
Maybe this is an off-the-air question.
this is an off-the-air question.
That is very interesting. Okay, and Joe Rice had a question, and we'll end on a downer, because why not?
That's okay. I like Joe. Joe's a good guy.
Any career regrets? Anything you wish you could do differently? And
No, because I never thought of it this way. I don't know if, people always ask stuff like that, but the big answer to that is I never really knew I was going to end up doing this. So I didn't, I spent most of my life in Nashville. I'm from Nashville in that respect, even though I wasn't born here and, lived as a little girl in Mississippi. But my family, my father's side, we've been here for 200 years in Nashville. So I just kind of thought everybody did. When I was growing up, I thought everybody just kind of wrote songs and sat around and played guitar. And I didn't really ever think about, and a lot of my friends did. If any of my, friends see this, we sang at church, sang in the youth choir. And like I said, I've written songs. I was trying to remember, I probably wrote some of my first songs actually when I was in elementary school. So I think I just thought everybody did that. And I didn't really, I was trained to be, I've always did music, and people said, oh, you should do this. And I did a lot for church and all that kind of stuff. But I can't say that I really said I'm going to do this. I was going to be a college professor, be a historian. Yeah. Teach history and tell stories and stuff like that.
And you've done it just in a different way.
I have. It ended up that the music was the way to talk about the things that I was teaching and learning about as a historian. That was the way I could express it best.
I love it. Well, Kate, this is fun. We're going to have more of these coming up.
Oh, my goodness, yeah.
So keep asking all your burning questions of Kate Campbell.
Yeah, I'm interested. I've seen some of the other ones, so I'll answer most of them. I just tell y'all, most of them.
And if you haven't checked it out, go check out the latest album from Kate, Damn Sure Blue. It's a good one.
I think it is.
I do. Okay, thank you.